Okay, everybody, welcome once again to our EdTech and e-textbook training sessions. This is the final session for the week, and in this session, we're going to be looking at how to set up your Moodle Gradebook. Feel free to ask me questions at any time. Um, if you if you have a specific way that you want to set your gradebook up, go ahead and tell me in advance, and I'll see whether I can adjust my gradebook to accommodate what you want to do with that. What I'm also going to do is in a separate window, go back, I'm going to try and open up a blank, a course with a blank gradebook. Open this in a new tab so that I can show you how you can set up that gradebook from scratch rather than just showing you the gradebook as it's already completed. Okay, good. So the first thing when I'm setting my gradebook, the first thing that I always like to do is go to my course outline, because in all of our UB course outlines, we have as one of the final features the assessment percentages that gives the student what proportion of your entire final grade is assigned to each different type of assignment throughout the course. So in this course, participation was 20, quizzes 20, assignments 40, and e-portfolio 20. That tells me right off the bat how I want to distribute the scores in my Moodle gradebook among my different types of assignments. Now for me, because sometimes I want to give more quizzes or more assignments, etc., I don't like to limit myself by setting, question here, I don't like to limit myself by setting a specific number of assignments with a specific number of points added to it. Instead, what I do is I like to set up a bucket for participation, and that bucket will be valued in my Moodle gradebook at 20%. A bucket for quizzes, that bucket's going to be worth 20%, etc., etc., etc. So that if I decide for this semester, instead of having 10 quizzes, I want to have 20 quizzes, I can still have those 20 quizzes, and all of those quizzes are still going to contribute 20% to my overall course grade. Evan, follow where I'm getting at?
Yes.
Excellent. So what I do then to make this happen is in my grade book, and the grade book you'll see looks like a spreadsheet, all the grades going across, blah, 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 blah. But in order to achieve that bucket situation that I mentioned earlier, I go to grade setup. And what I do is I set a category for each of those different buckets. So the first, and boy, just looking at this, I see I put participation at 15, not 20. Anyway, so I set my first bucket as participation, my second bucket or category as quizzes and tests, my next one as assignments, 40%, my next ones as my e-portfolio grade, which is 20, and then I have a fifth bucket, which is lessons. Now you'll notice lessons does not have a score attached to it because I don't let my lessons contribute to my overall grade. I use them specifically to reinforce content for the students. They can go through those lessons as many times as they want. So I don't count those grades to the overall grade. So how do I go about creating these buckets? So in order to create well, the first thing that I do is I go to my overall category, and you'll see it. It'll have a folder and the course name over here, and I set the settings for the course up here. Go to Edit Settings, And I'm going to change the aggregation method. I use simple weighted mean of grades. I suggest that you either use simple weighted mean of grades or weighted mean of grades. We'll talk a little bit about extra credit at the end, but I would suggest that you use one of these two types of aggregations. What that means is that it allows you to set up these bucket categories to which you can assign a specific weighting value that will contribute to the overall score. The main difference between these two is for the simple weighted mean of grades is that you will not assign a specific weight to each of the buckets. Basically, the total points that you make that category or that bucket out of will act as the weight. Whereas if you use weighted mean of grades, you will be asked to input a specific weighting for each of those categories that will determine how much that category contributes to the overall total. What do I mean by that? Well, I've used simple weighted mean of grades. Let's go back into my grade book to see what my categories look like. If you look at each of my categories, the total score for these categories match up to the weightings for each of those categories. Question in the chat.
No question in the chat.
Okay. Everyone clear on that?
Yes.
And how do I set that? So what I would do is I would go into participation, edit settings, and then I just go down to category total and I set it at 15 because I know that I want the category to contribute 15 to my overall grade, and I'm using the simple weighted mean of grades. Many people prefer not to worry about that. And so what they do, instead of using a simple weighted mean of grades for that overall setting, they use a weighted mean of grades. Now you'll notice that now that I've changed that to weighted mean of grades, when I click Save Changes, next to each, well, first of all, it's telling me it's recalculating the grade. So as soon as you see that, that's a flag to tell you that something has changed in your gradebook, and you need to make sure that the gradebook is reflecting how you want your grades to be calculated. So when I go back into my gradebook, I notice now that for each of my categories, I have a blank weight box next to that category telling me how much each of those categories are weighted, regardless of the total score for each of those categories. Well, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my lessons and I'm going to set that to 0 because I've already said I don't want these weights to contribute, these lessons to contribute to my overall score. Those lessons are just there if the students feel like they need reinforcement of a particular topic. Now, I said I wanted my e-portfolio total to be 20%. So I'm going to change this weight now from 1 to 20. I want my assignments, I wanted my assignments to be 40. I'm going to change that 1 to 40. I wanted my quizzes and tests to be 25. So I'm going to change that to 25. And then finally, I wanted my participation to be 15. So I'm changing that to 15. Go ahead and save. And make sure when you do change those weights, you got to save it, otherwise they won't be applied. And now I'm using weighted means, whereby the weights that I specifically entered are determining what percentage for each of these categories is going to be contribute to the overall total grade.
Hello?
Go ahead.
I'm online on a tree and I'm not going in the meeting at 3 o'clock.
Go ahead,
Anything
Dr. Bethel.
Yeah. Any questions so far?
Yes. So if you use the weighted grades, each
Yes.
component, the various components in the various categories, for example, quizzes,
Yes.
and tests. So
Yes.
let's say you start with a certain number of quizzes, and during
Yes.
the course of the semester, you decide I perhaps need to give a few more quizzes to for whatever the reason may be.
Whatever the reason, yeah.
I guess it automatically updates the value for each quiz within that 25%, or
That's
now do you have
exactly
to
right.
fix the individual quizzes?
No, that's exactly right. It automatically updates the value within this category. So
Okay.
and the overall will still be weighted at 25.
Right.
Now
So
you
so
go ahead.
so that gives us some flexibility within as the semester progresses to make
Exactly.
to make a job. Okay, excellent,
Yeah,
excellent.
exactly. And then the next thing too, you may decide, I see I had originally intended them to have these 20 quizzes, but we were only able to get to 18 of them. What
All
you can
right.
then do is say, I'm going to hide those five that you didn't, or you can also say that you don't want them to contribute. And this overall score will still be 25% for the overall
Right.
grade. And I'm going to show you
Right.
how, a couple of ways you can hide those quizzes as well. Go ahead,
Okay.
Dr. Stewart.
Just a simple question. The natural category, that
What does
means,
that mean?
yeah, is that just the natural grade that you assign?
All right, let me show you. I'm going to go into this other course and show you what the natural category,
Sure.
Let me go in my grades. Okay. And I should not have anything set up in here. Everything is everything. And so I am going to change my settings, and I'm going to change this to natural. Go ahead and save that. Category total. Go ahead and save that. No, default. I want the default to be real. Okay. Save changes. Recalculating. And so now, when I scroll down to the bottom, notice now the course total is no longer 100%. It's this crazy number, 4,608. Because with natural, what it does is whatever this particular assignment is out of, it just adds up all of those to create one grand total down at the bottom. And what that means is that if an assignment is graded at 100 and this one is graded at 28, this means that this is going to be weighted more heavily because it has more points attached to it than this one that was only 28, or this one that was only 10, or this one that was only 7. So the natural category just takes whatever these assignments are scored out of, adds them all together to give an overall total, and then to find out what the student's percentage is, it will just take whatever this student's score is, add those scores all up to get a total student score out of this total course total to get the overall percentage. Does that make it clear?
Yeah, that explains it. In other words, if I wanted if I'm using the natural category and I didn't want all of those totals, then that means that I should just put the regular grade that is assigned out of that 100% for each one of them.
Yeah, so sorry, what do you mean by regular grade?
Okay, like how you have 100 at each one of them.
Uh-huh.
I guess what I'm saying is that if I wanted to use that natural category, I just make, instead of the 100%, in all of those areas, all of the grades in that area should total the 100%.
Yeah, or you could put the total to 1,000. Some people use natural and put it to 1,000
Uh-huh.
because you're gonna have several assignments. So you maybe one would be 25, one would be 50, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, you're absolutely correct. You will want it to come up to some easy number that can convert it to a percentage. So you might make it 1,000 and then just move the decimal point to get to a percentage. But yes, that's exactly right.
Okay, I got you. Thank you.
No worries, no worries.
Yes, could
To
you
me,
go back to the weighted or the simple weighted, please?
yes, yeah.
Screen.
Which one you want me to do?
The simple weighted.
Okay, good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually do it for this course here. I notice I have a bunch of quizzes. I have a bunch of H5Ds. I have a bunch of forums, and I have a bunch of I'm going to call these homework assignments. It's going to be lobster and these Wiley assignments. So I'm going to use my categories: quizzes, assignments, and lessons. I
Yeah.
think that will cover everything. Okay, good. So the first thing that I need to do is set up those.
My question,
Go
I
ahead.
think maybe following from Yvette's is we have in the simple weighted, we had the
Uh-huh.
15%, the 25%, the 30%,
Yes.
30% or whatever. And when I'm inputting the grades, am I inputting 85%? Am I inputting 75%? What am I inputting actually in Moodle?
Okay, that's a great question.
That wasn't clear to me.
Yeah, that's a great question. So if you were using the natural total, what you will be doing is you will be balancing out all of these assignments so that their specific weights or their specific totals match up how much you want them to contribute to the overall grade. And so,
See,
go
I
ahead.
prefer to use the simple weighted because
Yeah. Okay.
I see it
Excellent.
doing
Excellent.
the calculations for me.
It's way too much
My
math. I agree.
My thing though is under quizzes though,
Yes. Yeah.
when I'm inputting the grades for quizzes,
Yes.
what number am I putting? Let's say I have 5 quizzes.
Okay.
For each one of those, the student gets a grade, let's say 8 out of 10,
Yes.
16 out of 20, something like that.
Yes.
Am I what number am I putting in to the
Okay.
grade book for
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
particular
You would just.
assignment?
You would just. Yeah. Yeah. You would just put the student's score in for those.
Okay.
Now, and I will show you how to do that as well. Now, note that these quizzes here are quizzes based in Moodle, and so those are quizzes that are automatically scored by Moodle off the bat, and you don't have to enter any score for them. Moodle will grade those quizzes for you. However, I get what you're saying. Let's say that you have a paper and pencil quiz that you also want to add that score to this grade book. What you would do then is you have, and this, okay, sorry about that. I got bumped out. let me share my screen again, and I will pick up pretty much where I left off. Okay, yeah, what I was saying is that if you have any offline assignment, whether it be a quiz, a paper and pencil, well, not paper and pencil, I guess a paper and word processor, that they pass in, anything like that that you grade outside of the computer, you can still record those assignments within the Moodle Gradebook. What you would do is you would go, no, you don't hear me? You don't see me? Oh, let me check. It may be my microphone. Sorry. No, you should be able to hear me. You don't hear me through the speakers? Okay, testing 1, 2. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm trying a different Wi-Fi. Hopefully that's more successful. Go ahead and share. Apologies. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so as Dr. Saunders was saying, she gave a quiz in her class, collected it back. She has the scores and wants to add that quiz to the gradebook. So you scroll down to the bottom of the screen and you'll see down at the bottom, you have these two things that you can add in. You can add a new category or you can add a grade item. I want to add a grade item, and that grade item I'm going to call Intro to Macro Quiz. Make sure grade type stays as value. Don't worry with scale or text. That's just going to cause way too many problems. Select the out of score. That's what is this quiz going to be out of? This quiz was out of 25. And then you're going to select the parent category. The parent category, I want to be quizzes and tests. And the item weight, I'm going to put at, I'm just going to put it as, I'm going to put as 1 for now. I'm not going to really worry about that too much, but I'm going to leave that as 1, put it as the quiz category, and then save changes. I should now see my new assignment appearing in the quiz category, and you'll see it appearing right there, and it is showing up as extra credit. How is that showing up as extra credit? Oh, I know why. Sorry. What you would do is just leave that as that rate as. In fact, you probably won't even see that rate. That's when you're pairing, because I have actually set this category to an extra credit category. I don't really want us to worry about that too much, but that's how you would add the quiz to your gradebook. And then when you want to enter those grades, what you would do is you would go into View. You would go into Single View, select that grade item, and that would be the macroeconomics quiz. And you will see an opportunity to just enter those grades in as you had before. So you would just go in, whatever the student got in these on this particular quiz, 16, 22, 18, etc., etc., etc. And then when you're finished entering all that grades, and then you could also enter a comment, you would go ahead and save. I'm not going to save because that will mess with my students' grades. I'm just going to go back to setup. So is that clear how you could add an external assignment to your gradebook?
Yes. That
Okay,
clarifies that those points are the actual the different quiz grades, the different
Yeah.
maximum points on the quiz, and it could be any number.
It
but
could
it's
be,
going to.
it,
Mhm.
yeah, it could be any number. That's exactly right. Dr. Marty,
Yes. So in inserting and adding that particular quiz
yeah,
in the setup, you chose a weight for that item, correct?
yeah. Now, the only reason I was even asked that is because this particular category that I have set up is not strictly, I'm going to show you. I have it set up to take, um, I have it set up to take extra credit. So what I want to do is when you're using simple mean of grades, when you're adding a quiz or test to it, just keep the weights at zero because if you put any weight in, it's going to add as extra credit. Uh, so I would
Okay.
say, yeah, just keep the weight at zero and leave it
Okay.
as that.
Right.
Okay.
And it will be then the same scenario as we discussed earlier, where Moodle automatically applies the appropriate weight based on the number of
Based, ba-
items.
well, and based on the total for
Yes.
yeah for each of these quizzes.
Okay. 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 Good. Thanks.
Now, if you don't want to worry about that, you just want all of these quizzes to be equally balanced, even though this one is 10 and this one is 20, you want them to have equal weights, then don't even worry about weighted mean of grades for that. Just go into the category setting. And for this particular category, just change that to mean of grades. Then what it will mean is it will balance each of those quizzes equally against one another, and you won't have to worry about the total for each of the quizzes. It will mean that each quiz is worth the same amount. So this is balanced equally against this, against this, against this, etc., etc., etc. So if that's the way you would prefer to balance them, you can do that as well.
Okay.
I'm going to go back and return to my previous setting so I don't mess up my historical views. Save changes. Okay, any other questions about the gradebook? I mean, about what we've done so far with the gradebook? I also want to delete this. Anyway, I'll have to delete that later.
I have a question, Dr. Bethel, a very simple question.
Go ahead.
So let's say if you have a grade book and how you have all of those activities in the grade book,
Yeah.
let's say the students did the work, they see the work, and then at the
Mhm.
end you want to hide or drop more than 2 or 3 grades.
Okay, excellent. Excellent. So let's say that, notice that in this quiz category, I have a whole heap of different quizzes. Oh, I need to delete this too. I don't need no trial quiz in here. Hold on. Okay, I'll have to go back and delete this. I have a whole bunch of quizzes, and my students have been really hard workers. And I noticed some of them got COVID midway through the semester, missed a couple of assignments, did some assignments while they had COVID and didn't score very highly. So I want to be a little more flexible with them, and I'm gonna drop their lowest 3 quizzes to help them out. So I'm gonna go into my edit setting for that category again. And now under grade category, I'm gonna click show more. And notice that it will say drop lowest. I'm now gonna change this to drop my 3 lowest grades. And that will mean that for all of my students in this quiz category, their 3 lowest grades are not going to be counted toward their overall quiz grade. Okay, and then once you've done that, you will go ahead and save changes. And I'm going to go ahead and save that to show you how that looks. So I am now going to go into one of my students' grades, and I will click on user report. Let's go and take a look at Brian. And so I will see all of his quizzes. I should see a couple of those quizzes grayed out. Yeah, there we go. You see his quiz 7.1 dropped. This quiz 13.1 also dropped. And there should be another one dropped because I said, yeah, and this first one, Power of Yet, also dropped. So what Moodle is now doing is searching through his lowest quiz grades, and it's going to drop them automatically in the overall grade, so that now his quiz grade bumped up to 95% for that particular category, which translates into 23 or 24 out of 25 for the overall quiz contribution to the final grade. Does that answer the question?
Yes, sir, somewhat. But really what I want to know, okay, let's say, for example, if I gave 10 assignments and
Uh-huh.
I don't want Moodle to randomly drop the lowest three grades. I decided I want assignment A and B, but I don't want D, E, and F anymore across the board. Do I just delete those from the setup? Or is there a button that I could click in the setup that would omit them from the gradebook?
Okay, good question. Several ways you could sort of, the first answer is no, you can't delete them from the gradebook because they appear in the gradebook because they are assignments in the Moodle course. Now, if they are one of those that you have added in as an, an add grade item, yeah, you could delete that. But all of these quizzes are quizzes that are assigned on the Moodle homepage. So the question is, how can you specifically drop, let's say, this integrating technology quiz, this offline, Office Online, and OneDrive quiz, and something else? What you could do then is go back to that quiz category, edit settings, and I'm no longer going to drop the lowest three because I now want to drop three specific tests or three specific quizzes. So what I'm going to do is change this from simple weighted mean of grades to weighted mean of grades. And I'm going to save the changes. And now what I should see is I should see a weight by every single one of those quizzes that appears. Now, what that will allow me to do is identify the quizzes that I want to drop. I said I wanted to drop this one here. I'm going to change that to a 0 weight. I also wanted to drop this integrating technology quiz. I'm going to change that one to a 0 weight. And I wanted to drop, which one was it? Well, let's say it's a spreadsheet quiz. No, spreadsheet too important. I can't drop that. I'm going to drop the intro to Canva quiz. So I've put a 0 weight for each of those quizzes that I don't want to contribute to my overall grade. And then I'm going to go in and save the changes. Click continue. Now I will see if I go to one of my students. Oops, sorry. If I go to one of my students, it should show that each of those that I have put a 0 in contributes 0 to the overall score. It'll still tell you what they got, but that grade is no longer contributing to the overall score for that particular category. Yes, Mr. Forbes. Oh, sorry, does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. Good afternoon. I do mine slightly differently.
Okay,
I like to give. If I give 10, I give rallies. I don't give quizzes. Okay. If I
okay,
give 10 rallies, I really want to grade them out of 8, and the other two are bonuses. I don't know if you
okay.
went over that already, but
The
how could I keep?
bonus?
Yeah. So So it's like if they were 100 points, 800 is the post for to get 100%. But all 10 quiz would rallies would contribute towards that. How would I do that?
So do you use categories, or
Hmm?
you just use the natural where they all add up to the final grade?
They all add up. They all add up. But it's just that instead of being 10 points they need for 100%, it's 8 points they need
Yeah.
for
Okay.
the
Good.
thing, something like that.
I was hoping to avoid this one, but anyway, we'll take it on. Okay. Good.
I've
So
been
we
waiting
go
all
back to.
week for this section, man.
Okay. So extra credit. To do extra credit, and actually the situation that Mr. Forbes talked about is the perfect one, the simplest one to do in Moodle. What you would do is you would go back and go back into your quizzes or rallies or
Homework, whatever it is.
exactly whatever it is. Go back into the edit settings, and you want to switch this back to simple mean of grades, and then save the changes. Now you're saying that you want any of them to be added as extra credit, or not just?
I want all them to be added, but instead of the total mark might have been 10,
Oh, I
but
see
really
what you're
I'm
saying.
using 8 as the 100%.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah, that one is a little more complicated.
All right. Okay. All right.
Give
Well,
me, give me,
okay. All
give,
right.
give me a couple of minutes. Give me a couple of minutes to let me
Well,
think. Let me
don't
think
waste too
about.
much more time on it. You could always come back to that, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What I'll
Okay.
probably do is I'll probably think about it a little bit and reach out to you directly.
All right. Cool. Good. Thanks.
No worries. Good. Any other questions?
I just, not a question, but I have a comment.
Yes.
Just wondering what Mr. Forbes was talking about. Wouldn't it just been easier to take off like the two lowest, and then they would still have the eighth grade calculation?
No, but that ain't what I want. I want everything they did to
He,
calculate to go
to
towards
add
their
in.
final.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, I see what you're saying.
So
Is
those other two will be bonuses. It'll be like it's bonus.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Because that's what I was misunderstanding. I was wondering if you just wanted the best
No,
of
And
no,
the
no, no,
grades.
yeah,
no.
Okay, that's what I was understanding. But okay, I get you now too.
I have,
Now, let me ask you
and
another question. I'm sorry if you've went over
no,
this
no, no, no,
already.
no. The reason why this has gotten me frustrated,
I
because
think
I know that I've done it before, but I
I
just can't remember how I did it.
I think
Yeah,
he
okay,
has to
okay.
edit it and make it a bonus. Edit
No,
the
no,
I.
but no, 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 no. But understand what Mr. Forbes is saying. He doesn't want a specific assignment to be given as a bonus. What he wants is that for your five quizzes to have an actual score of 10. So the total marks you could get is 10, but in the grade book, it's only giving it out of 8. So if you could get 9, you could get 8, you could get 10, you could get 11, you could get 12. Sorry, up to 10. But once you get to 8, you will be getting 100%. But what if you score higher because you got all full marks in each of the quizzes or rallies, then you get those extra 2 bonus points, and they could come from any of those quizzes because it's getting the total score from all of them aggregated together. Am I understanding you correctly, Mr. Forbes?
Yes, 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 precisely.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
he
yeah.
may still have to edit the grade item. And the grade item allow you sometimes to go over.
The
Right.
grade
And
item, and I think that's how I did it. I let the grade items go over, and so it still gave the total as it still gave the total as what I had the thing out of, but it allowed the grade items to go over. I think that's how I did it. But still, when if you're talking about multiple of them, it may be a little tricky on how to do it. Let me think about it a little bit, and I'll get back to you. But Professor Barr Cunningham, if you could think of a way to do it, you reach out to both of us as well.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, excellent. Any other questions? Oh, sorry, Mr. Ford, you had another question.
Yeah, I mean, again, you might have handled this already. The midterm that we don't do actually on some we don't do on Moodle. Is there? I could just still add them, put them
Yeah,
in here.
yeah. So if you want to
Okay.
add any additional assignments that you do externally, you would go
Yeah.
down, add a grade item,
Uh-huh.
um, midterm exam, leave this as value, decide what the maximum grade is. My midterm
Okay.
is at 4. Um, I want the no, I want the percentage to show the real and the
Yeah.
percentage.
Percentage.
Real, real. Oh, here we go, real and percentage. And then select which category it should appear in. And I'm going to put it in quizzes and tests. I mean, typically what you would do is if you have a midterm exam, you would put that as a separate category altogether because people generally have a specific percentage that they want to
Yeah.
assign. But I'm just going to throw it in this particular category for the time being. And
All
then
right.
you'll see that it will show up as a item with an empty box next to it. Okay, so
Okay.
you could drop that in anywhere.
Okay, good. Thanks.
One thing that I want to point out, and this comes up frequently with faculty members, when you are putting in for the course and for the categories, you'll notice that there will be, when I click show more, there will be an item that asks you whether you want to exclude empty grades. What that means is, do you want your empty grades to count as 0, or do you want those empty grades not to contribute to the overall course grade? The default is to put it to exclude empty grades. So that means that if a student misses an assignment because they just didn't pass it in, that they will not be punished for that. They will only be scored on the work they carried in. Typically, we want the student to be penalized if they don't do work, except they have a specific excuse. So my recommendation is to make sure you check that this reflects your particular grading policy. For me, I generally leave this checked because I will go into each of my assignments for those students who don't do it and actually enter a 0 for them myself. But if you don't want to go ahead and do that, make sure you leave that unchecked for your overall course category and for each of your individual categories so that those students who do not submit work and they're not excused will those grades will be counted as zeros for the overall grade. Everyone good with that? Everyone
Is
understand
there
what
a
I mean?
way to individually address the opposite case where you want the empty grades to count generally, but student A does have a legitimate excuse. Can you
Yeah,
then
so
go back and for that one student exclude it?
absolutely. So, and that's really why I generally leave this there and just go in and put in zeros when I know that the student they just didn't pass the work in. But if you do it the other way, that's fine
Yeah,
too.
I prefer to do it and give the credit, select whether or not the credit should be given. I think
Yeah,
that's just, for me that's safer.
Yeah. So what you would do in that case is so you're saying it don't exclude
I
empty,
want to count the empty grades
count the empty grades.
initially.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Now,
You know what? Let me do it.
if student A
Yeah.
presents to me and says, this is my reason,
Yeah. Bring the
and I
medical slip,
accept that,
whatever the
I
case.
want
Yeah.
to then address the issue for student A, but not the
Okay.
others.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm gonna go in and edit settings here, and I'm gonna put that to weighted mean of grades, and I'm gonna put this as not to exclude empty grades and save changes. Now I know that for, let's say, this final exam, I know that this student was actually excluded, Antonio Banderas. So the question is, how can I not count that grade for that student, but count it for everybody
Right.
else?
Yes.
So let me go into that final exam. Uh,
You can give it some thought and get back to me on
yeah.
it.
Let me give it. Let me
Yeah.
give that one some thought. Let me give that one
Yeah.
some
That's
thought.
fine. That's fine.
Yeah, because I don't know that there is an easy way to do it off the top of my head. There may be, but I can't think of one off the top of my head. But for that specific reason, that's why I generally do
Right. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
other
Okay.
other method, because it
Mhm.
allows me to go in and put zeros, which I know will
Mhm.
be scored, and leave the others that will automatically
Mhm.
be excluded.
Yeah. Okay.
I think there is a way, but yeah, let me get back to you. I can put those two down, the aggregate extra credit and
So nothing can be done in the single viewer category if you're just dealing with one student, no?
yeah, so let me go back to setup. So in the single view category, you can edit because this is where it will allow you to see the grade items as opposed to students. And let's say that what I realized, I graded this thing wrong. That shouldn't have been 9. That actually should have been 10. What I can do is select oh, and here's the answer to the question, Dr. Moxley. I knew it was somewhere. Um, so Dr. Moxley, same thing.
Okay. Yes. I see it.
You would just, oh shoes. What did I do? Oh, how did that happen? Let me go forward. Yeah, you would just select exclude, and then this grade would no longer be counted for that student. But let's
Okay.
say,
Yeah.
yeah, but let's say for the student here, um, Daylene, I actually misgraded that 9. That was supposed to have been a 10. So what I could do here is I can select override, and now I can actually type in a new grade for her. So in the single view for grade items, you can edit, but in the single view for the user report, you cannot edit. Does that answer the question?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good. Dr. Stewart, does that answer your question as well?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, perfect. A couple of other things to be wary of, and I do not want to say this because my grades are already a little messed up. I don't want to make them messed up more. Other things that you might want to be that you might be interested in, because we are we are reporting our grades in, because we're reporting our grades in Banner as letter grades, when I set the preference for my reports under course grade settings, I will typically, for my overview report, so enough of my overview report. Sorry, for the grade items, what I will typically do is to include them as the real and the letter grade, or the percentage and the letter grade, either one. But I want to have the letter appearing so that it makes it easy to upload the grades to Moodle. I don't have to worry about calculating it out in my head, what it needs to be, what's that 89% supposed to be? No. I just include percentage and percentage and letter, so that when I go to the report, I could see what grade they got straight off. Okay? And you can be sure that the grades are correct. Just click on letters and it'll show you that this is actually set to the Moodle grading system. Okay? Good. Any other points that people want to find out a little bit more about for the Moodle Gradebook? How to set it up.
What are the outcomes and overview report?
So, okay, the outcomes, this is if instead of having grades, we use competencies. And basically what that will do is it will tell you, and actually now that you mention it, this is something that we can use for our SLOs that we're using with SAS. It's for that type of thing. Whether a specific course or a specific set of assessments apply to a specific student learning outcome. None of these have been marked at this present time in Moodle, so that's why nothing is showing up here. But that's what this outcomes report would be. It would tell me, so in this particular course, this is the course average. These are the activities that are applying to this specific student outcome. And then the overview report, this just tells me what all of the grades that I have attained in all of my courses. Okay, and it should not really be showing many grades because I haven't really been participating in any of these courses. So really, this is more for a student, but you can just select any of these students and see what their grades are in their courses.
Thank you.
Note that you can also export your grades to Excel or to a CSV file. If you click on the Export tab, make sure before you decide what you want to export, select Excel, because once you have made all of these selections and you then switch from one open document to Excel, all of those selections will be changed and you'll have to start from scratch. So go ahead and select Excel. You can select which items to be included. It will ask you what the format you want to export, whether you want real, percentage, letter grade, suspended students, etc., etc., etc. Go ahead and download, and it will download a grade export file to your desktop. And I'll go ahead and download that. And then if I click on that, it should open up. And it shows you the spreadsheet of all of your grades in an Excel spreadsheet. Any other questions about the gradebook?
Can you select real and letter, percentage and letter
You mean to
to
export?
export? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Excel. So I would just go down and select both. I typically don't, only because, let me see if I could open it up again with my numbers. I typically don't,
No.
only because, go ahead.
Yes. Oh, yeah, Miss Hitchman. Yeah. Actually, I was just about to send you an email. I don't.
Because when I'm exporting, I usually want to manipulate it numerically. But yeah, you could absolutely download the real and percentage, or even all three. Real percent, or let me just do percentage and letter, because those are the ones that people really understand better. So I'm going to go ahead and download that. And what it will show is in each of these columns, now it shows me my uh, course total percentage and my total grade, my participation percentage, participation grade, etc., etc., etc. So for each of the assignments, it's now going to show me the percentage and the letter grade. So yes, absolutely, you can do both.
Okay, thank you.
That D plus looks weird.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? How did D plus get in there? Yeah, that should just be a D, eh?
Yeah, I noticed it's on the scale too, the
Yeah,
letter scale.
I gotta change this right now. Uh, oh no, no, I gotta change it. I gotta change it from the site administration. Let me make a note of that. Or I may not even be able to change that. I'll have to write to the LMS admins. Okay. Any other questions about the grade book, and things that you might want to do with your grade book that you're not sure how you can?
This might seem like a very basic question, but what's the need for the user report? Is that really your end or
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. Really, what it is it shows you what the students will see when they go and when they click grades um, in their Moodle class. So if with the student Thomasine, when she goes and clicks grades in her Moodle class, this is what she will see. I recommend that you do come back and check this just to be sure that they are seeing what you intend for them to see. I know certainly a couple of faculty members check this regularly because they say, "Oh, this ain't. I don't want them to be seeing this, or this is not what they're supposed to be seeing." And it's particularly pertinent. Some faculty members like for the students to see where they are in terms of attaining the overall grade. So if they've only done 50% of the course, they want to be sure that the students only see that grades are showing up as out of 50%. Like they don't want the students to be seeing they're getting an 80% of the course, because how could they be getting an 80% of the course? They haven't completed 80% of the work yet. So it allows you to see what the students are seeing and then go back in and adjust your setup to make sure that they're seeing what they're supposed to be seeing.
okay, thank you.
Excellent. Any other questions before we wrap up? Okay, great. Just to wrap up what we did today, we looked at how to set up um, outside assignments in Moodle. We in the Moodle Gradebook, we looked at how to set up new categories in the Moodle Gradebook, how to set weights to use simple weighted mean of grades, natural grading, and some of the things that I have been tasked with uh, looking into further is how I can assign aggregate extra credit if I want my total score to be greater than my out of score. So the students who did everything get the full grades plus additional points for extra credit. Is there anything else that I've been tasked to do and get back to anyone uh, coming out of this session? change that D plus to a D also. Okay, fantastic. Thank you again for your time and attention during this session. This will be recorded and I will distribute to you hopefully by this afternoon. Also, it's included in the playlist of all of our sessions so that when it's distributed, you can access the recordings from any one of our sessions so far this week. I want to say thank you also for all of your attendance during these sessions, and I'm now going to turn it over to Mrs. Robinson. I know she has some prizes to award for people who have been showing up for all of the sessions.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Bethel, for that. I just really quick, I just have to share one or two things. But before I do that, is there anyone in this group who will be willing to open up their mic and just share with us what these last 4 days have meant to you? If they were rewarding, if they were exciting, what did you think of this training session? Anyone?
I think
This
that
one is, go ahead.